2019. For the record, all city council members are present tonight. As are members of the staff, we welcome the public, we welcome the employees and families of employees that are here this evening. We appreciate your attendance. I've asked Councilor Mitchell if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone, please stand and follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we normally do a moment of silence as we remember those who are serving in our military, protecting the many freedoms that we enjoy in this nation that we live in. We'd ask you to remember them. We'd ask you during the moment of silence to remember our police, our firefighters, those who protect and represent our cities each day in a very professional manner. We really appreciate them. We'd also ask in a moment of silence that you remember our city council as they make choices and decisions this evening that may affect the residents and employees and people that they serve. So now take a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Next, move on to public comment. This is a period of time when you're welcome to come forward to the microphone. You make any suggestions or comments you like City Council, any concerns that you might have. We would ask that you state your name. We would also ask that you limit your time to about 3 minutes, if you would, please. Time is open for comment. Seeing none, we'll move on next to presentations and reports. First of all is the mayor's report. Just have one item this Saturday is the Easter egg hunt be held at Riverdale Park. Our youth city council does this each year. They do a really fantastic job. We appreciate what they do there. That starts at 10 o'clock with the sound of fire siren, and it's over with in about 20 seconds. So it's a neat activity. There's a lot goes into it. A lot of time spent filling plastic Easter eggs with gifts and different things. So just invite you to attend that. Move on to item 2. Presentation regarding a request for funding for the YCC. Is there anybody here tonight from YCC? I know Julie Smith retired, and I never heard whether there'd be somebody here or not. So we'll move on to item 3. This is recognition of the Riverdale City Justice Court for winning the Justice Court of the Year Award. Mr. Brooks, our city attorney.
I tried to get some information from the Justice Court panel or council, whoever they were. I wanted to at least see the nomination and all that, but they weren't much help. But I did ask all of our Justice Court employees to show up tonight so they could make a presentation to the mayor and show them this pretty plaque they received. But it was kind of funny because I received notice of this a couple of weeks before we had a clerks conference scheduled in St. George. And they said, we can either give that to you now or we'll present it down there. Well, I knew Erlene was going down there. And if you know Arlene, she's really quiet and shy. So I thought, oh, this is a perfect chance. We'll really put her on the spotlight. So none of them knew anything about it until Arlene got called out. So I think she was only half awake, if I recall, right, Arlene?
Yeah.
But it was good. Anyway, as far as I'm aware, I don't think Riverdale's ever received this. So I think it's well deserved when you consider the fact that we're the only justice court now who does a drug court in addition to what they already do. I mean, these ladies deserve a pat on the back. So I wanted them to come here. I don't think they ever get to see a lot of you guys as council and mayor. So Arlene is now our full-time, used to be our part-time employee. Joan is kind of half and half. She's court and drug court. And Nosso Brasileira here, our little Brazilian, is Fran Olson. Fran came from the church office building. She was working down there, and she's kind of our interpreter, which has been quite valuable, both Portuguese and Spanish. So we've enjoyed having her. That's been really fun. But anyway, I'll let them present it to you, Mayor. I told them that we could put it in the new trophy case up there, but they want it hung down here, so we'll at least give it to you and make it look good. So.
Thank you.
On the back right now, can we give it to you later?
We
Probably looks
just-
more official if we take it.
Yeah. We want the official.
I could share a story with you about Erlene being shy and quiet, but I won't do that because I remember an occasion where she really said it like it was, and we used to work together in a different capacity. But yeah, they all do a fine job. We appreciate you gals. You're really quiet down there. We don't hear a lot, but we all always know that things are going well, and you're all dedicated. You come to work each day, and we just sincerely appreciate everything you do. You're really good at what you do, and Steve, we thank you for what you do, and the judge and those other people that are associated with the court. This is quite an honor to be the Outstanding Justice Court of the Year award. That's pretty special. So congratulations to you ladies and Steve, and again, everybody that's associated with our court. So move on next to our city administration report. Mr. Worthen, do you have comments on this?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few, if I may, echo your statements and your words about the Justice Court. And it's a beautiful award up here that you received, and the employees that work in there day in and day out. And I come by on Monday and Thursday, and it's chaotic out in the lobby. People coming in with all sorts of issues and concerns, and trying to schedule issues or submit information to the court relative to their case before Judge Renstrom. And I just wanted to thank the employees, Joan and Fran and Arlene, that work down here day in and day out. And they do a wonderful job, and the management that they bring to the court and the issues that, people are having a rough day. If you're in court, it's not the best day of your life, I would assume. So they try and make it as easy as possible for them, and I appreciate them. And that award reflects that. That it reflects their work effort and what they try and bring to the court each and every day. So thank you. As far as the department reports, Council, they're before you. I would like to point out, our community development department, the director, Mike Agate, he's on our recognition today for 6 years of service in community development. Mike does a wonderful job with what he deals with, everything from zoning to code enforcement to new developments to all sorts of different issues, works in the RDA, works with developers, and I just wanted to point that out and some of the things that Mike does every day for Riverdale City. And they're important things, as far as, not that others aren't important, but Mike does some interesting activities with development and working with developers and real estate companies and development companies. And I just wanted to recognize his efforts today. I try and grab one out of that report each time. And I think last time we talked, it was the court, and here they are getting an award. So appreciate that. Appreciate all the employees. There's several of them here tonight, namely the police departments here. I haven't seen that much navy blue in a long time, but appreciate them here with us tonight, as well as Chief Shawley and the other staff members. I wanted to make mention of the Lazy Boy store that opened. Some of you were at their grand opening, which was on Saturday. So I think it was the 23rd, if I'm correct, they opened. But anyway, beautiful store. It's a great asset to have in our community. So that whole area is dramatically different than what it was here just a few years ago, if you really look at it. Lazy Boy's now anchoring in there. The At-Home store is there. The Floor and Decor, which took over the old Sports Authority, is huge. It's just a wonderful business. The tickets, the price of the tickets that walk out of, the sales tickets that walk out of Floor and Decor are exceptional. It's a wonderful store to have in our community for that collection of revenues and sales tax that is collected there. I wanted to make mention as far as the community development report. It's there before you as well. Quick Quack Car Wash. Hopefully, Mike, I don't know if you have an update on them. I wish they'd start turning some dirt there soon, but the best realty store is in the old Johnny's Dairy building, is still moving forward. And then Dania Furniture, which took over the old Babies R Us building, is hopefully moving into our community soon. So, and then there's other things in the pipe that we'll share with you at upcoming meetings as well.
Mr. Worthen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe I saw where the sign for Crumbles, the cookie store.
Crumbles coming.
If you're on a diet, it's going to be a killer.
Crumbles coming. There's some activity as well in some other spaces there by that store there in what we call Building E, as part of the Hobby Lobby development there by the Katrubis family. So there's some other things that are going in that empty space as well. Moving on, I'll do our anniversaries here at the last, if I may. We have the report of staffing authorization plan. We're one full FTE below what is authorized from the 05 action plan. The sales tax revenue is good. That's on this graph that you see here. Seeing good numbers, obviously, with a robust economy. People feel maybe more at ease at spending some of their discretionary funds on big items. We see a slight downtick in car sales, but other things are chugging right along. The eateries are doing well. Food is where it's at, and we're seeing a lot of benefit from the new food establishments that you have here in Riverdale, as well as some of the stores I just mentioned over there by the At-Home store and the Lazy Boy store. That being said, Council, I'd just like to note the April anniversaries that we have for our employees. Mr. Flagg in the fire department leads everybody with 36 years of service. I don't know, Chief, is he going to make it to 40? Maybe?
Probably. At least his mustache.
Paul Flagg, 36 years of service. That's commendable. We have with us as well Chief Scott Brinkman. He's with us. Scott has 20 years of service with us, but you have more than that, don't you, in total? Curtis Jones, Sergeant Jones, 17 years of service in our police service, or police department. And then we have LT, what I call Casey Warren. Casey's with us, has 15 years of service. So those two are on their fifth year increments. So we'll recognize both Chief Brinkman and Lieutenant Warren here in a minute. Mike Agate, as I mentioned, has 6 years of service in community development. Amy Wright, Community Services Department, has 4 years. Angie Pierce, Angie takes a lot of challenging phone calls in our community. She deals with a lot of challenging issues with our utility payments and being in the utility area of our city, and appreciate her. And then Brecklin Choate, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Community Service has 1 year, and then Mr. G. Gerardo Vasquez in our police department has 1 year of service. So seems like we just hired him a few days ago. He has 1 year. So I'd like to recognize and thank the officers that are here tonight. And Chief Brinkman, if you'd come on up, and Lieutenant Warren, if you would come on up. We have a certificate of recognition for you. And unless there's any questions, that's my report, Council.
this what it takes to get you to a meeting? Yeah. Have an award?
You guys plan on saying something about each other, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just high five, that's good.
Thank you very much. It's an honor this evening to present these two awards for service. We got two really fine people here. I'm going to present the LTs first, and just like to tell you how much we appreciate what you do. I think most of you here know Casey and the kind of job he does. He's got a lot of energy, and he doesn't miss out on a whole lot. I know we've had two or three, since I've been involved, 2 or 3 real major crimes took place here, and when he's involved, they're usually in jail before the day's over, and he's really good at that, solving crimes, and just really good. We really appreciate your service and what you do. He even took me one day, and I don't remember what it was, but he wanted to take me for a ride, and we went for a ride, and the ride lasted about an hour. And you give me a lot of good counseling, but it was good. But I appreciate what you do, and I know the residents do. We've got, and you officers that are here, we got a great police department. I go to a lot of meetings with other mayors and people, and just people ask, and public safety is always a topic, police and fire, and I can proudly say we have the best, really top-notch police and fire, Chief Shawley, that anyone could ask for. I know the residents are just, they really think a lot of all of you and the service that you provide. It's really outstanding, and you guys are the ones that makes that happen. So I'll give you this, Lieutenant. You get a little bit of cash with this too, and when they get up to 15, 20 years, it starts to look pretty. That's why I'm telling her, and she's taking it. She's recording. It's what she's doing. She's not taking pictures.
I just want to say a couple of words. If this were a basketball team, Casey would be an all-star. I so appreciate him being my right-hand person. The job is just so 24/7 anymore, and he never complains about the phone calls that come at all times, day or night, when he's not at work. I never hear him complain about it. And he's just always done such an incredible job, been very dedicated, hardworking. As he's moved up through the ranks, it seems like with each rank he's moved on from, it's almost been disappointing because we were like, we won't have him as a patrol officer anymore making those drug arrests. And then as a detective, he just solved a lot of crime. He's always done a great job. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to the law, in understanding it, interpreting it, and training our officers. So he's an invaluable asset to the city. Hopefully he'll be here another 15 or 20 years. I appreciate everything that he's done.
Thank you. Do you have anything, Roger?
I was just going to say I appreciate Casey. Some of those phone calls are from me. Whether it's dealing with some issues over in Walmart at odd hours, I'll text him on a Saturday, and he says, we'll get someone over there right away all the time. And I specifically remember the business of Frankie's and how challenging that was. And man, I turned that over to Casey, and it was done within months. We had a case against that business, that illegal business, and I just appreciate all that you do. That's just one of many different investigative efforts that he has done and taken on and challenged himself to get done. And Riverdale is a much better community for the work that Lieutenant Warren does. And just appreciate you, Casey. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say I'm flattered. My wife's probably thinking, what? I don't get all that work done at home. But thank you for all the nice gestures and comments. And I couldn't say how grateful I am to work here in Riverdale. When you have a city that supports you and your organization, it makes it so you get these guys. Don't want to get choked up, but because of you guys, we're able to recruit and get the best officers in the state. And I don't think we could do that. Well, I know we couldn't do that without your support. And I want to thank Chief Brinkman. He's mentored me from the time I was a brand new guy. And there's a whole another list of stories he could tell you as I come up through the ranks and learned. And I want to thank the mayor. He's always there supporting us, as is the council and Roger, as well. I say this often whenever I get the chance to come in here or to get to talk to you guys. I have a brother in law enforcement. I have my best friends in law enforcement. And I get to brag every single time that I work for Riverdale City. And it's because of you guys, the support you give us. And like I said, without that support, we wouldn't be able to have the fine group of men that we have. And so thank you guys. I'm looking forward to finishing my career here in another 15 years. And I wouldn't feel right without thanking my wife and my kids, because I still got a ways to go, but 15 years is a long time in law enforcement. And they've supported me through thick and thin. So they're probably the most important people I got to thank. Anyways, thank you.
I was just going to say, I see Casey's wife and kids on Facebook, and I know he's got a neat family, and it's nice to have you here this evening to be here. So on behalf of the City Council and City of Riverdale, the residents will present you with this for 15 years outstanding service. We appreciate it. And our chief. I bother them both on the weekends occasionally, but I really try not to. I try to keep it till Monday if possible. So I respect their time off and respect the time that you put in on the job and the job you do. But Chief, just let you know we're extremely proud of you, proud of the department, proud of everything that happens. I know Casey mentioned we get the best of the best, and we sincerely believe that. We just have outstanding police officers, and you just don't get them without good leadership, and then they don't stay if you don't have good leadership. But I think from what I've seen in the last that I've been involved here for some years, I think our police force is as good as it could be, it's ever been that I know of. You've got outstanding officers and outstanding leadership, and they just do really a great job. So we sincerely appreciate all you do, and your example, your mannerisms. I think they all look up to you for the kind of guy you are. Just a great example to those that serve with you. So we do appreciate that. And let's see if Roger's got it. Sure he does.
Yeah, kudos. Whenever I have to go vent at something or an issue, I'll go see Chief Brinkman, and it could be any type of issue that's bothering me. I'll go over and talk to Chief Brinkman. And he's got a door that's always open to go over there and just sit down and have a chat with. And the mayor's right. We've got great officers, and that leads from leadership, and it leads from culture. The culture in Riverdale City, that's part of the council, and what Lieutenant Warren was stating to the council, and it starts at the top and goes down. And great department heads, or some of them here with you tonight. Chief Brinkman is one of those, and he does a wonderful job in guiding that department, guiding it through some tough issues at times and some fun issues. And they do a lot of good work over there, and they have fun doing it. And I just appreciate it. We have lunch with the mayor every other month or so with invite the sixth graders over, and you should see Chief Shawley and Chief Brinkman get up there and explain what cities do. And the main thing that we do is we keep residents safe. And whether that's fire or police, we have wonderful people here in our community that deliver that service of being safe, that you feel safe. Whether you're out walking at night or you're at the store or driving down the road, that you feel safe in your community. And I just want to thank Chief Brinkman for all that he does. Thank you.
I neglected to thank Casey's wife and children. The job can be brutal on a family, and I'm grateful to my wife and children as well that have always been very supportive of me. Thank you, Mayor and Roger and the City Council. I mean, I feel like we have just a great team, and it's all about trying to resolve things as best as we can for the citizens that live here and people that come into our community. But you've always been very supportive. Previous mayors and councils have been very supportive, and I feel very fortunate to have worked my career here. I actually left very briefly and realized the error of my ways and quickly returned before they filled my position, luckily. But I have incredible officers that work here. We have such a good group right now, and the job is just changing so much. This past weekend, it was just chaotic. I don't know what happened, but the way they handle things, we're dealing with so many more people that have weapons and are aggressive, and they do such an incredible job of dealing with these situations at the lowest level that they possibly can. And I'm just proud of the work that they do. They make me look good. It's not about me. They're the ones out there doing the work. They do an excellent job, and it's because we have such a great city and we can hire such great people. So I just feel very fortunate to be here, and I appreciate everything that all of you have done for me. So thank you.
Council, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
Just thank you.
Mr. Ellis?
I just really appreciate all the work that you guys do. You hear all these stories about different cities and confrontations and things like that, but you never hear about Riverdale. And that's based on the high quality of employees that we have and the training and leadership that we have. So personally, I really appreciate all you do for the city. I really appreciate it a lot.
Mr. Stevens.
The comment I'm going to make is a little tongue-in-cheek, but I wouldn't have been aware of this unless I was aware of the sheriff of Weber County. We had a new sheriff take over, and he changed some policies. And one of the policies that he changed was they allow the sheriff's deputies to have facial hair. And then I thought, what, haven't they always? And so as I look at our department, I'm thinking, has that always been a policy, or is that a change, or did we follow the county, or that's always been? Very good. Okay. Well, you look good.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Move on to any other questions on the administrative report, comments, Mr. Hanson?
Real quick, the Taxing Entities Commission working on stuff. How's that going?
Yeah, we've set out an invite to them to meet on the 23rd of May. So we're going to get that together.
Good sales pitch.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Basically asking for a little more time.
Okay, move on to item 5, discussion regarding recycling options. Mr. Worthen.
Mayor, and council, it seems to be changes every day on this issue, this dynamic issue that the cities of Weber County have been working on, now going on probably 2 years, off and on, different issues that come about. Most recently, as you've probably noticed in the media, there's been conversations about the provider that allows the cities to dispose of their recycled products that they've collected through their cities out at Recycled Earth, and that cost is increasing. They're trying to work currently right now with another agreement through Ogden City. Ogden City's pitching that agreement that it be reflective to all the communities in Weber County. So that's ongoing right now. They have increased their costs slightly. When I say slightly, I should preface that with, if we were to pass the cost on to our residents, it would be pennies. But it is a cost. We try and keep that recycling cost down as much as possible. I think in summarization of the issues, as far as talking with Sean, who's here with us tonight, with Steve Robinson from our hauler, and some of the other communities, as you can see, we don't want to get our residents out of sync as far as those that are recycling. We want them to continue to do so until we hopefully can figure out a solution. I did send you an email over the last week that was from Mr. Watson, who's the manager at the Weber County Transfer Station. Part of that email consisted of a newsletter written by Nathan Rich, who works out at the Wasatch Integrated Waste Management, which takes on waste from Davis County and from Morgan, I believe. And so there's some options that entity is working on that perhaps could benefit Weber County. In the sense that it would be a location where we could dump our recycles or put them in the recycling stream. They meaning Wasatch Integrated, is working to construct a very intense MRF that could separate those products, taking way more plastics than are currently being taken, and recycle those, and in some cases turn them into a fuel product that could be used for businesses that burn coal. And so there's a lot of things on the table still. Obviously, Recycled Earth is doing an increase. Ogden City is currently working to get that increase down to pretty much match the transfer station where it was initially. We haven't heard any updates from Mr. Louder, Jay Louder, that works for Ogden City at this point. But those discussions are ongoing. I believe the transfer station has made great improvements. Mr. Watson reported on those to the WACOG meeting here at the beginning of this month, and received some commendation from Mayor Allen from the Terrace. Mayor Searle was there, and some other discussions were made about how the transfer station has come a long way with the last 2 years. They were having a lot of efficiency issues out there, some challenges on how and what they do with their mainstream waste, as well as the recyclables that they collected. It's improved a lot out there, and they're actually hopefully coming out of the red. So that's the better part of it. But that being said, Sean's here. If you have any questions, Sean knows the business probably better than I do as far as recycling. I think it's a position that perhaps we should take, one of being patient and see what pans out, either with Recycled Earth or with Wasatch Integrated. One way or another, there's going to be a solution for the recyclables, where we're going to take them. As you know, one of the biggest issues is that the Chinese market is no longer, and so the value of these materials just fell out of the shelf. They're just not there anymore. Unfortunately, we have many of our residents. I have family members that you put that material, whether it's cardboard or plastic, aluminum, you put that in the recycling bin and you wheel it out to the curb, and in your mind as a consumer or as a user of that service, you're thinking, I'm doing something great. And you are. But in reality, on the back end is the financials, the costs that deal with managing recyclables. And if it's efficient, if people can use those products in a way that's beneficial. And right now, that's the challenging part. So as a consumer, you're thinking, hey, I'm doing great, but on the back end, the financials of it just don't make sense. But we think that's going to be changing here in the near future. So I would recommend stay with it, but it's a discussion item for you. I know you talked about it last time you met briefly, and we decided to put it on the agenda, so it's an agenda item for you tonight.
Any comments or questions, Mr. Ellis?
So all of the cities in Weber County are faced with the same dilemma, right? The same cost increase and disposing of recyclables?
Yes, I believe all of them are going to recycled earth as far as discharging the recyclables.
Roy they've got a different arrangement, I think, with waste management or something.
They take it to WM.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's different. Mayor Dandoy did mention that in one meeting I was in. So.
Ogden clearly is the big dog in the issue, but we're all dealing with the same issue with recycled earth, and we feared this going into it with an agreement there that perhaps this would happen, and that we're confined, if you will, to one place where we can place our recyclables, and the cost keeps going up and up.
Go ahead, Bart, excuse me.
Over at the elementary school, Riverdale Elementary School, on the parking lot that's out by the Red Church, there's 2 dumpsters for newspapers, and I think they've been there quite a while. Are they associated with the city?
No, I think goes to the PTA or the school. The money goes directly to the school.
Because from what I understand of the various commodities that make up recyclables, some, like plastics, has kind of fallen off. Aluminum is even fallen, but paper has kind of held, if I read that correctly. And so I've been following this for about a year, and I've been taking our paper and cardboard over to that dumpster over the school. I'm not sure who maintained that, but I sure seeing those things full frequently, and they get emptied. And I never see them being emptied, but boy, do they fill up quick. And so I think a lot of people are recognizing, like myself, and I'm purely anecdotal in my observations, is trying to eliminate the blue can by taking the paper products to where it's just pure paper products to be used.
Yeah, it's great. That's what we do. We take all of our newspaper and paper over there, get rid of it. I know a lot of other people do, and it helps the school, and it's a good thing. Plus, I'm sure our little bit doesn't cut the tonnage down to Riverdale recycling, but still, it's a good place to take it. It really is. One thing I was going to mention, I was on a tour last Friday afternoon. I went with some people down to Utah County and looked at their new bus rapid transit system that's known as UVX, Utah Valley Express, and rode on that system and looked at it. But Mayor Caldwell was there from Ogden, and Mark Johnson, the city manager, and I did ask Mark about recycling, and he said, yeah, they had kind of a tentative agreement with Ogden City had a tentative agreement with Recycled Earth, and I asked him how much it was, and he did, like Roger said, it sounded like it would probably be the rate at what the transfer station was charging. They are trying to get contract. I asked him, I said, would they give that rate to other cities? And he wasn't sure, but he thought they would. And they also, from what I understand from the Ogden people, and also Mayor Allen in our sewer meeting last night, he said that they're looking for a 5-year contract. Recycled Earth is with the city, but somebody mentioned, well, but there's a 180 day opt-out clause in it, so you could get out of that. But just from what I know, and from what I know, John Watson and Wasatch Integrated, I think we'd be very, very cautious in entering into a contract for 5 years unless we were really sure there's an opt-out, because my thought is with what Wasatch Integrated is looking at doing, doing the fuel. We talked about that company coming in building a plant just to make fuel. And then we talked to Hairhoff coming, at least their type facilities where they process everything, make fuel, they process glass, they process everything. But I just think, like Roger said, there's options coming down the road, and I would think if we were to enter into a contract, we would want to be very leery that might be something, because I think Wasatch Integrated, about the end of the year, they kind of think they're going to be close to getting going on this facility. John Watson was the manager of the burn plant out for Wasatch Integrated. That's where he came from, got a lot of experience. He's really good, and as Roger said, he's made a tremendous difference at the transfer station. So anything else on that, Mr. Mitchell?
I would just like to make sure that we're really clear with the residents, whatever we decide, and even if it's just temporarily, to make sure we're transparent. If we are going to dump the recyclables at the transfer station, and we make that known. And I'd be pretty leery of any 5-year contracts too. I agree with you, Mayor, on that. But I think the residents think they're doing good, and if they found out they weren't, I think they'd be pretty upset. I think if we told them, I don't think they'd be that upset. But if we misrepresented what we were doing, I think it could be a problem.
At this point, we haven't taken any of the transfer station, right? We're still paying the fee. We have enough, and for the dollar value of the recycling material, we're still good to continue with what we're doing. So, and I agree with you, Councilor Mitchell. That's important. We make sure they know what we're doing. So, any other questions or comments? Okay. Move on to the consent items. We have the review of the meeting minutes from the strategic planning meeting on February 23rd. We also have the city council work session, city council regular sessions that were held on March 19th. Is there any changes or corrections to those minutes? With that, could we have a motion on the consent items?
Motion to approve consent items.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous in favor. Move on to action item number 1. This is consideration of resolution 2019-06, amending the interlocal cooperative agreement for seal and secure services to include Plain City, Washington Terrace, Uena City, Mountain Green, and Morgan County. Chief Shawley.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This is just a renewal or just an amendment to be done with this contract we went into in March of 2014. Basically, it provides our board-up companies after fires and disasters to include those other cities. That's it.
Any questions, Mr. Hanson?
I'd make a motion to approve the resolution 2019-06, amending the interlocal cooperative agreement for seal and secure service.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion on this motion? Mrs. Manning, will you poll the council, please?
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellis.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Aye.
Councilmember Arnold.
Aye.
Unanimous in favor. Item 2 on our action items has been removed from the agenda for this evening. It may be on a future agenda. Move on to item 3, consideration to approve purchase of additional water. Mr. Worthen.
Thank you, Mayor Searle. Before you, Council, we're requesting just direction as far as an expenditure of funds that currently are in our budget that we've assigned to a water well, that we utilize some of those funds to purchase surface water rights.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Arnold?
Don't we need to have like dollar amounts, or we can't just say yes, right?
In the executive summary, it said not to exceed 150.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should put that in my comment.
Okay, that's good. Any other questions or comments, Mr. Arnold?
I don't have it with me, but yeah, go ahead.
I'd make a motion to approve purchasing additional water
Not to exceed 150.
not to exceed 150.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on this motion? Okay. Mrs. Manning, I'll have you poll the council on this purchase.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Ellis?
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell?
Aye.
Councilmember Arnold?
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Move on to discretionary items. Mr. Ellis.
Since Chief Shawley's here, if you could give us an update on, we had that meeting about working with South Ogden. It was in the newspaper, and apparently they agreed to that, or?
Yeah, South Ogden fully agreed to it. Had some very nice comments. The direction we were given basically the same as what you guys gave us to move forward, develop an interlocal. We're currently building bullet items as part of that interlocal, and then we'll get to the attorneys and have them hammer out for your approval and see where we go from there.
Thanks for the update.
I was looking at this. Any questions, Mr. Stevens?
I didn't have a question. I had another discretionary topic, if I could.
Okay, go ahead.
This is, I guess, for Mr. Brooks, Mr. Worthen, and I've thought about this for a while. In that, as I interact with other municipalities and jurisdictions, Roy City, for example, I believe has 4 entities that use their court. This has to do with our court. Has 4 entities.
Award-winning court.
That's right.
And, where they have, of course, Roy City, and then they contract with Weber County, and then they contract where, I guess, more newer municipalities, like in this case, West Haven contracts and Hooper, I believe, contracts to use the courts in Roy. So you have 4 entities there. Now, I don't know if that's a revenue source for the city or if that's more or less a service where they break even. I don't know. But have we ever considered, since we have a court, it's up and operating, and it, of course, it runs very efficiently and very well. Have we considered? Not that I expect an answer tonight, but at some point in time, is that a revenue stream? Is that something that we would look at? Is that something we would even want to entertain?
You want me to take it, Roger?
Sure.
We'd never been approached, or is that what you're talking about, as if we were approached by another city?
And I don't know if there's anybody around us, because Weber County
Right.
uses Washington Terrace, and
Right.
they come up for renewal
Right.
from time to time.
We'd never been approached by it. I think we would consider the one downfall. Well, it's not necessarily a downfall, but our employee load is based upon how many cases we handle. So if we were to bring in another city, we would have to hire more employees to compensate for that. So that would be an issue that we'd have to come back to the council and discuss all that with you. I don't know that we'd be against it. I just it is I think a revenue source for some of those who host those other cities, because they take a percentage of what they bring in on that. So I think it would be something we would have to just sit down, crunch some numbers, and consider it. I don't know that we're against it, but we've never been approached by anybody since I've been here. So
I mean, we have the fixed cost, which is the facility,
right,
and then you have the variable cost, which is the personnel and whatnot. And so, again, I mean, is this something that's even? You answered part of it. It's never been entertained because we've never been approached.
Right.
But there are entities that could, that are kind of. But I was just curious.
We would run into problems right now with Judge Renstrom because he's spread so thin. He does 5 or 6 different jurisdictions, and so I don't know that we'd even have another day we could fit in there that would work according to his schedule. I mean, there'd be a lot of challenges to it, but we would look at it. We just have to look at numbers.
But we've never been approached.
No.
Okay.
Not since I've been here.
Thank you.
You bet. Mr. Arnold.
Ritter Drive's terrible. Just saying.
It's live.
It's closed. How can it be terrible?
To local traffic.
You're local.
I know.
We're trying.
Bumpity bump bump.
They dug it up and went away.
Yeah, crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
Far, far away.
It is pretty rough to drive on. Yeah, it
driving
really
on it.
is.
That's because other people are driving on.
Go around.
I thought only council members could drive on.
Any other discretionary?
I had a question, community development question. I was at Maverick today, getting gas and rain. Just watching four souls standing there waiting for the bus. I remember asking, the last time I asked, you kind of, well, UTA's got to initiate something. I just wanted to remind you, the last time we reminded UTA about their revenue from the city, and maybe they could do something with that to help out. They acted, so I don't know. I was hoping maybe we could light that fire again at some point.
We were talking about this just this morning, about basically contacting Eddie Cummins and requesting him to initiate a, perhaps condemnation if necessary. UTA they've been responsive. I mean, since I've been here, we've done the shelter up by the old Convergys one, heading down the hill on 4400 going east. We did those two right there just past the first roundabout in our city. We've done the Lowe's, we've done the Discount Tire, the Chick-fil-A, and those are the only three. I think there's three remaining. The Shopko, which is construction-wise, is extremely difficult.
All the low-hanging fruit's gone. We got to get the ladder out. Go after that top one.
And then the Maverick one. One thing that we were talking about, Mike and I were talking about relative to the Community Development Department. UTA's in a process right now, and Mike attended, what, was that yesterday, Mike, the meeting that you went to? Or was it Friday? Was it Monday? A week ago Monday? Anyway, UTA's in the process right now of doing public outreach to gather input on route changes. One of the items that we've talked about in the past was actually removing the stop at Maverick and putting it over in front of Walmart. And then you hopefully eliminate the cart issue. I think you'd pick up more ridership at Walmart than you would at Maverick. That's just our opinion, Mike and I, in talking about it. We approached UTA to do that. They came back and says we can't, and you have to have an influx of additional buses into the route. However, during this time, coming back to their public outreach efforts at this time, maybe we should reapproach them and relocating that bus stop and adjusting the route completely.
So are they accepting public input or just input from
what's going on, what you're going to see forthcoming? They haven't quite rolled it out yet, but they're going to be evaluating all the routes in Weber and Davis County and trying to determine which ones are efficient and effective and which ones aren't getting ridership. So you're going to see about 1.5 to 2 years of evaluation back and forth in their own ranks, as well as with the public, both public riders as well as public leadership. So they may actually ask the city to sponsor or participate or help educate the public at some future point, which allows for then the door to be open to have some of these discussions that you might want to have.
All right.
So with the new board being the 3-member board now, and our representative board member being Mrs. Holbrook, we do have an opportunity potentially to talk to her and re-engage as well. But like Roger said, we thought the best starting point would be to re-engage with Mr. Cummings first in light of these changes that are forthcoming, and work our way through that, and then have our discussion with her thereafter and see where it goes.
Thanks.
She was on that tour Friday I was on, and talked to her some, and she wanted to come and talk to the city council and just maybe kind of a little training on some things UTA's doing. But I know she's also very, very interested in any problems that we might be encountering, and we talked this morning about that. And yeah, she's a go-to person. She's the trustee for UTA with, there's 3 now, and she represents, I think, Davis, Weber, and Box Elder counties. Is that right?
Is this the same Holbrook that from the league?
Yeah, she was the president of the league last year, and but anyway, she's very willing. But we kind of thought that rather than have her walk in here, we probably need to work up through Eddie Cummins and her and try to attack that before she comes in here and gets approached with something she's not even familiar with. So, but she's very, very desirous. Doing a good job, and I think right now is probably a good time. I think we did mention this morning that Roger mentioned and its potential of possibly having to condemn some properties to go ahead and get those bus shelters, and it would probably require a city and a UTA joint, what do you call it, resolution to condemn or something of that nature. So there's a little bit to it there, but we did feel like there's an avenue there that I think she would get involved in and probably make it happen. But we wanted to give the local UTA leadership another opportunity to fix it. So, because they've treated us in other things really pretty good, and they've done a lot of bus shelters. So,
Mayor, could I add one more thing? Just from that UTA meeting. UTA does have a survey active on their website right now. I think it's a ridership survey. So if you talk to especially constituents who do ride or would like to use that service, make sure they go on that website. That feedback has become very crucial with the next phase of this process as they start to gear up and look at that ridership and those routes throughout Weber and Davis County to make more efficient routes where they're more effective. So,
yeah, you're right, Councilor Hanson. They shouldn't be standing out in the rain. Just no excuse for that. Any other discretionary? I'll just mention one thing I was told last night. This is just something probably hasn't even been on the news yet, but in our sewer board meeting last night, Weber County Commissioner Scott Jenkins was there, and he said that West Weber had applied to be incorporated with the state, and initially it was turned down, but that was yesterday. This was really just late news. The state had okayed that they can go ahead and form a city. And it sounded like from what was said in the meeting last night that it would probably include a lot of those other towns. And it could possibly area-wise be the biggest city in the state. So, but that's just a info thing to you, just something that I heard last night. But it's interesting. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned. We'll now move into our RDA.